May I have a quick question? Whose tombstone is that?
That's General Sheridan, the Civil War.
Oh, sir. And over there, the one behind the bushes over there?
That is Horatio. General Horatio there. He was an engineer general in the Department of Engineering in the Army, Civil War. And that is the one. That is the man. He is
the Lafayette?
Pierre Charles Lafont.
Oh, Lafont.
Also from France, like Lafayette. He was a engineer and also an artist. He served in the Continental Army along with General George Washington. 1780. We see a lot of people in town with the POW. We have it on the flag as well. Prisoners of war. 1780, he was taken prisoner of war by the British, and eventually he was released. And he also taught engineering at West Point for a couple of years.
Sure. Did he serve under George Washington right from Boston, or did he join in New York City?
I am not really sure if he was up in New York at the time, but he was at Valley Forge. And he also served along with Baron Wilhelm Frederick von Steuben. And his contribution, von Steuben's contribution to the Revolutionary War, is that he retrained the army, the soldiers, because prior to that time, when they showed up, they were very disorganized. And von Steuben gave all of these military instructions and drills, and thanks to him, ever since then, the army has been very sharp, really sharp. And so, now von Steuben did not speak English. He would give these military instructions in German, and then they needed someone to translate from German to French, and then from French to English. Our friend here was also friends with Alexander Hamilton, who had some people that could speak both languages. So Alexander Hamilton, once again, all over the place, helping out. And if you were to find manuals with some of those military, which they call the blue books, code books, from the War of 1812, or even prior to that time. So from Revolutionary War all the way up until the War of 1812, many of those military instructions remained on the books.
What was Lafayette was Lafont? Am I saying his name right?
Yes.
Was he alive during 1812?
He died in 1825.
Okay, so he was there when James Madison was the president.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Yes, he died in 1825. Again, the military, if you could get a copy of some of those military booklets, and you would see the illustrations, they were made by him.
Nice.
So again, he had a very flamboyant personality. He frequently got into disagreements with other engineers and commissioners. And so, depending on who's telling the story of his life, some people will say he was let go by General Washington. Others will say, oh no, he took his blueprints with him on his own. And then the other men were left with, oh dear, what shall we do? Well, there was another engineer named Andrew Ellicott, and his assistant, a guy named Benjamin Banneker. Banneker was a surveyor and an astronomer. He wrote almanacs, and the calculations that Banneker made in the 1700s as to where to place the boundary stones. Many of those stones are still in their original places in D.C., Virginia, and Maryland. So they told the other guys, hey, don't worry, we memorized his blueprints. So they continued to build the city based upon Lafont's plans. And then so he dies in 1825. He doesn't have much money, so he's buried at a friend's farm in a way obscure part of Chilham, Maryland. Now we fast forward to the 1900s, when a French ambassador, Jean Clem, is posted in D.C., and he starts inquiring, oh, by the way, where's my fellow countryman, who was born in France? Where is he buried? Now they have to find this farm. They locate where Pierre is. On the day that they are exhuming his body, literally a cardinal bird comes and sits in a nearby tree and is singing pretty much the whole time that they bring him up. Many people believe that the cardinal bird, when it appears like that, the spirit of someone who has passed on is with the bird. So Then they take Pierre to the capital where he lies in state. Then they bring him here to be buried with full military honors in the presence of French ambassadors, members of Congress, top military brass, Vice President Sherwood, and President William Howard Taft. Sir, may I present to you Major Pierre Charles Lafont of the Continental Army. That is who is here.
Nice. And this area belongs to Robert E. Lee family, correct?
Robert E. Lee married into the Custis family. So George Washington Parke Custis is the young man who was raised by George Washington and Mrs.
Mary Washington.
And he is raised as their own son. He adores General George Washington, and he wants to have a memorial built to honor George Washington. So he doesn't have much money. He has a lot of land, but not much money. So the house is built in 3 sections, beginning in 1802, the section on the end, 1802 to 1804. Then they do this section the next 2 years. Then they do the middle part, completing it by 1818. Many people will ask about the materials. Underneath all of the pretty stuff are lots and lots of handmade bricks made by the enslaved people that also lived here and who actually built the house. Then they put a form of stucco around it, and then they painted it to make it look like marble. We actually have some pictures from the 1860s. Sir.
Is there a bathroom around?
Yes, take the white building, gift shop, and bathrooms are open. Just curve around to the white building. Sorry, thank you. And so this is a couple of pictures from the 1860s. We just completed a 3-year renovation inside and out. So again, it looks exactly the same, same patterns. We just put new paint, maybe new wood, but everything is exactly as it was, pretty much.
So, Lee family, anybody buried on this ground from Lee family?
Mr. and Mrs. Lee are buried where he became president of Washington and Lee University in Lexington, Virginia. So most of them are not. President Lincoln's oldest son is buried here.
Todd Lincoln?
Correct. Yes, he is here. So, and also President William Howard Taft, who was again present when we had the military burial for our friend Pierre. And where might you hail from, might I ask?
I'm from this area. I live in Vienna, Virginia.
Oh, Virginia. Vienna is quite good as well.
Yeah, this is my 3rd or 4th visit, so I just want to make it special on Memorial Day because I can see all the flags and flowers and all that.
Lots of history. And are you familiar with Johnny Clem?
No, I'm not.
So Johnny Clem is actually buried in back of the bushes. So one of those headstones will say Clem. But during the time of the Civil War, Johnny Clem wanted to enlist and fight for the Union. He went to one outfit after another, and they kept saying, "Oh, sorry, you're a little too young." He finally found an outfit from the state of Michigan, and they said, "Okay, we'll let you in. We'll let you start out as being a drummer boy." So they make a uniform and a musket gun appropriate for his size, and that is because at the time he wanted to enlist, Johnny Clem was 9 years old.
Wow.
And one time his outfit, which was the Union side, they were surrounded by Confederate troops. And so Johnny Clem was hiding, and a Confederate officer saw him and said, "Come on out, you little Yankee rascal. Come on out." Johnny Clem raised that musket gun, and he shot the officer. And by the age of 12, he had the rank of sergeant. He stayed in the military a very long time.
Wow.
He retired shortly before the beginning of World War I.
At that time, do the parents need to sign off when they want to join the militia or the military?
His mother had died by that time, or prior to that time. And in those days, the rules would have been possibly quite different than nowadays. But he stayed in the military and retired shortly before the beginning of World War I. So that's just...
So what is the famous battles he participated? Was he in the Manassas battle?
He fought in many battles.
Oh, he fought.
Imagine he's enlisting during the time of the Civil War. He stays in the military all the way up until shortly before the beginning of World War I. So there are different wars that are occurring in between those times. And so if you want to read about him, and if you have young friends, this is a great person to learn about.
Nice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So his tombstone is right.
Go and keep on the path and then look over. One of them will say Clem.
Okay. All right.
Okay, and you can walk carefully if you want to go on the grass to walk on the front. Carefully.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Get beyond the trees. Yeah.